Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my review of the 2021 drama based on a true story film, The Eyes of Tammy Faye. Now, before I get around to sharing more of my thoughts on this film, I want to give a special shout out to Brock for requesting this review. If there's another film, TV show, or topic that you would like to see me discuss in the future, feel free to donate to my PayPal, and I will try to get to it as soon as I possibly can. Now, The Eyes of Tammy Faye is directed by Michael Showalter, who is a relatively well-known comedian. He worked a lot on the sketch comedy show The State on MTV. He also had a show with fellow State co-star or cast member Michael Ian Black called Michael and Michael Have Issues, which aired on Comedy Central. And prior to this film, he directed a couple other movies. This was his first foray into, let's just say, dramatic and serious fare. And the direction is serviceable. It's decent. It's nothing that's particularly spectacular, at least not on a consistent basis. I think in large parts because Michael Showalter is still trying to find his footing when it comes to directing. There are some shots in this that look really good, especially the last concert sequence. There are some other scenes that definitely do look like they are effective recreations of actual broadcasts, but there's a lot of it, though, that really does come across very TV movie, very low budget. It doesn't really have that spectacle that you are looking for out of a theatrical film. I will say this: I don't think that the direction is a net negative by any means. I think it, like I said, I think it's decent enough. I think Michael Showalter uh, handled things well. It's just one of those films that it's not gonna wow you when it comes to the visuals. And I think a large part, a lot of it has to do with the structure of the film and the plot. The structure of the film is very episodic, and a lot of it is very much based around actual television broadcasts. So a lot of it's just recreating what already exists. So that leads to not a lot of creativity when it comes to the filmmaker in terms of what kind of pans or zooms or push-ins or any of these kind of things that they're trying to do, because they're trying to go for authenticity first and foremost. Now, the screenplay by Abe Sylvia, that's really where the film falters the most for me personally. It has its moments. I mean, there are some genuine parts where it's endearing when it comes to the initial start of the relationship between Jim and Tammy Faye. There are also some moments where you really do sympathize with Tammy Faye and you really do feel for her. And there are some bits where you can see where she was trying to be a trailblazer and trying to do the right thing and be there for a lot of people, including those in the homosexual community. So there are some good things here, but it's very inconsistent when it comes to the quality of the writing, when it comes to the tone. The opening of the film in particular is really laughable and ridiculous and overwrought. It deals with young Tammy Faye, and she's like talking with a finger puppet on the wall, which is just her hand. She's just doing a shadow puppet, and the way that it's written and the way that it's performed is just laughable. It's ridiculous, and it's played so straight that it's one of the funniest things that I've seen in in a film in a while. Like, it was funnier than anything that I had seen in some of the more recent comedies. And I don't think that was the intent. And then it was even more of a laugh riot when she's in church and she starts speaking in tongues, which is always something that I felt is just stupid and ridiculous and silly. And makes no sense to me. I'm not religious. I'm not really what you would call a Christian or anything, but I have been to church. I have been a part of that community at different points in my life, and I've always found the speaking in tongues thing to be just absolute ludicrousness. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, if that really is supposedly the word of God, God is speaking through people, then no, why the hell would he do it in a way where no one would understand what the fuck he's trying to say? I mean, really, if it's supposed to be the word of God or the word of God coming through man, and it comes out like absolute gibberish, like it doesn't really seem like the best plan there, in order to get the word across. And it's just silly. It's and the way that it's shot and the way that things are written, it's just absolute ludicrousness. Just you're just like, what? The film gets a lot better after that, though, in terms of a more consistent tone. It just starts off really badly when it comes to the tone of the film. It's incredibly hard to take it seriously. Once you get past that rough start, though, then things start to become a little bit more tolerable when it comes to the tone. But then there are other problems that pop up, and the biggest one is how the script handles Jim Bakker. Jim Bakker is a manipulative liar. He is not a good guy. He is one of those people that tries to create this image that they mean well and they're trying to do the right thing for God or for other people, but the guy is a manipulative liar and he is not a good person. He continued to do really manipulative, shitty things after he was released from prison, and he continues to take advantage of people to this day. And this film paints him in a way that's way more sympathetic than it has any right to be. And there's not enough moments where they show the real Jim Bakker. There's a lot of moments that show the showman, the guy in front of the camera, uh, trying to make people smile and laugh and trying to get people on his side and trying to get ratings. And they show bits and pieces of the real Jim where he's obsessed and he's mad with power and greed, and he gets angry and really twisted. But those are not really that prevalent. Even by the end of the film, after the scandal and after his whole empire falls, it still kind of tries to paint him in a little bit more of a positive light. Because the last time we see him, he's in prison and he's meeting with Tammy Faye, and they have this moment where they have what you might consider a potential reconciliation of some kind, or at least a moment where they share some compassion for each other. And I get why all of that is there, because it's from the eyes of Tammy Faye. She would be more forgiving. But that doesn't mean that you have to do it this way, especially for a film like this, which is heavily marketed as based on a true story. It's kind of your duty to tell the truth, because there's a lot of people, sadly, who are going to watch this who are going to assume that Jim Bakker wasn't really that bad of a guy despite everything that he did. And that's just a huge mistake by the screenwriter. Also, the scandal, which is the most interesting thing about the Jim and Tammy Faye Bakker story, it doesn't really compromise that much of the film's running time. So not much of the script is even devoted to the scandal. A lot of it's just newspaper clippings and news footage, and so that isn't really as much of a highlight as you think it would be in a film about Jim and Tammy Faye Bakker. So it's not the best depiction of what happened, But there are some genuine, heartfelt, and powerful moments, though. And they really involved Tammy Faye. It involves her uh, determination, her will to sing and to make people happy, and it showcases how she was ahead of her time when it comes to fighting for people like the LGBTQ community, and it really does a good job painting a full picture of Tammy Faye, which she is the focus of the film. So it makes sense that the script would do a better job with Tammy Faye than it would with Jim. But I still feel that they really drop the ball when it comes to Jim, and that hurts the film, despite the fact that it is more focused on Tammy Faye. But I do like how it really showcases how she evolved over the years, how she dealt with power and fame, and how there are some moments where she does have real sequences of humility that are very impactful, and you really do get to know this woman on a pretty deep level, and it really did succeed in making Tammy Faye into someone that was in some ways a tragic figure because of everything that she was ultimately involved with. But at the same time, it didn't really go as deep in on her as it could have. Like, it talked about her addictions and stuff like that, but it didn't really go in as deep on her equal obsession for fame and money and influence that Jim shared, because it just kind of played with pillows, kind of played with kids' gloves when it comes to that. So that's another aspect of the script which I think could have been done better. Also, the structure of the script is very beat by beat by beat. There's not a lot of creativity there. It makes it feel like it's a couple episodes of a mini series that are just stitched together. So I feel that that could have been better as well. So overall, the script to me is pretty below average. The best things about it deal with Tammy Faye and her story, but pretty much everything else outside of Tammy Faye is not really that effective or that well written. The performances by the cast, though, are pretty spectacular for the most part. I thought this was definitely one of the biggest strengths for this film. Jessica Chastain deserves the Oscar nomination and then some for her performance as Tammy Faye. She really went all out with this. She was not afraid to be vulnerable. She was not afraid to be a clown in some ways, because of the fact that this is a role where it takes a lot. Like, you really have to put yourself out there and put on all that makeup and talk in that accent and be that larger than life personality that is Tammy Faye Baker, and do it in a way where it doesn't come across like a parody. It comes across as genuine and real. And I feel that Jessica Chastain pulled it off and did a remarkable job playing Tammy Faye. She did such a good job that I legitimately felt that I was watching Tammy Faye Baker. So that's exactly what you need from a film like this, and your star. Andrew Garfield, he was fine too. He did an amazing job in his own right as Jim Baker when it comes to what he was asked to do, what he was given to work with. I'm not going to blame him for what the script decided to do with his character or with a Jim Baker. Andrew just showed up and did the job and knocked it out of the park. You had some other actors and actresses that also did some good work, like Cherry Jones as Tammy's mother, Rachel, Vincent D'Onofrio played Jerry Falwell, Sam Jaeger as Ro Messner, Mark Wystrach as Gary S. Paxton, Gabriel Olds as Pat Robertson. But really, the film focuses for the most part, solely on Jessica Chastain and Andrew Garfield, Jim and Tammy Faye Baker, which is understandable. And they are the core of the film. They are the centerpiece of the movie, and both of them had great chemistry. Both of them really did a great job. Now, when it comes to other aspects of the film, it features some alright cinematography by Micah Giolakis. It's not anything that I'm going to say is great. It's not a real standout. It looks fine enough. Did a good job recreating the look of the 80s, and the film really did succeed in recreating actual television broadcasts. Like, it really did look like something that was from that time period. And a lot of that, though, has to do with the art direction or the production design. But the cinematography, too, in terms of the lighting, in terms of copying the style of filmmaking from that particular era. The editing also, I thought, was pretty solid as well by Mary Jo Markey. There were some moments where it really was very lively and energetic. And I would say some of the biggest moments of creativity when it comes to the technical aspects of the film really are with the editing. Not necessarily the direction, but with the editing in terms of how certain scenes are cut or put together. The music by Theodore Shapiro, I really didn't notice the score that much. It was pretty unnoticeable, and there's not really much to mention about the score. I think a lot of the film really didn't have a lot of a musical score anyway. It focused more on Christian songs or songs sung by Jim and Tammy Faye. So it focused more on their work than it did on anything from the outside. The film was paced, I guess, adequately. It's 126 minutes, and there are some moments where it does drag, but I wouldn't say I was particularly bored with it. It did keep me engaged, mainly because of Jessica Chastain and her performance as Tammy Faye Baker, but it is something that could have been a little bit more tighter paced. I think some of the things could have been structured differently in terms of how different plot points came into play or came into place. But overall, I thought it was decent. I thought it was okay. I really don't have a desire to watch it again or add it to my collection, but if it is something that might interest you, I would recommend checking it out sometime. But anyway, thank you for watching my review, and as always, I'll see you later. See ya.